Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
True Crime Edition. If you have ever listened to our show, I don't even care if you like it. Um, Tell other people to listen to it. Subscribe wherever or follow wherever you are listening. And we would love if you would give us a 5-star review so that other people can find our show. All right, are you ready?
Yes,
All right.
Yes.
I have a real-time true crime that kind of got glossed over in the wake of the Riley Strain news. But Sebastian Rogers has been missing from Sumner County, Tennessee for over a month now. Sebastian is 15 years old and is autistic. A few days ago, a pair of glasses were found, but they have not been conclusively linked to Sebastian. They think they might be his, they're not totally sure. Police are not ruling anything out and are continuing to actively search for him. They have issued search warrants, analyzed cell data. They said that they're checking the same places again for the 7th or 8th time to just continue exhausting every option. Sebastian was last seen in Hendersonville, Tennessee, wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. If you have any information about Sebastian, please contact the Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838 or contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND. So, yes.
Nice update.
Yes. And now my whole story is missing person.
Wow.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Terrence Shamel Woods Jr. was born on October 24th, 1991, into a very close-knit family. For as long as his father could remember, Terrence Jr. wanted to be a film producer. He graduated from the University of Maryland and then went to London to receive a double master's degree, and he remained there for the next 5 years. In October of 2018, Terrence got a job as a production assistant at a film shoot in Idaho. He told his father, Terrence Sr., that they had finished their work on October 5th, and by October 6th, the family had gotten a call they never expected. Bum, bum, bum.
Idaho's not like London.
No. But it was interesting because it was for a British TV show. Terrence Jr.'s family described him as reliable, happy-go-lucky, kind, loving, bubbly, passionate, successful, intelligent, and a go-getter. That's
What a guy.
I know. He loved reading, traveling, being outdoors, snow, and spending time with his younger brother Joseph.
Liar. I don't believe people like snow. I think they're all faking.
I smell snow.
Terrence, good for you. That's great.
When his parents got divorced, Terrence Sr. got full custody of the two boys and raised them to be wonderful young men, as I just told you. After receiving his master's degrees in London, Terrence worked on a few different TV shows from the UK, like The Voice UK and a documentary called Saving Africa's Elephants, Hugh and the Ivory War, where he worked as a researcher. In 2018, he moved back in with his father in Maryland. Quickly after returning home, Terrence got a job as a production assistant on a spin-off series of Raw TV's most popular show, a discovery series called Gold Rush about gold digging and mining. Terrence Sr. took his 27-year-old son to the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport in Arlington, Washington on September 30th to begin work on Gold Rush, Dave Churin's Lost Mine in Montana. I don't know why they were flying out of Washington.
But maybe it's, I don't know. I was like, surely there are airports in
yeah,
Montana.
No, in Maryland. He's going to
Oh,
Montana.
flying out of Washington, D.C.?
It says Arlington, Washington. Maybe they meant Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
W.A. and V.A. look kind of similar.
Yeah, maybe that was my bad. Irregardless.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when people say that?
Not great.
All right. So the show was meant to be a documentary on the Penman mines inside Nez Perce National Park in Oro Grande, Idaho. Raw TV is a UK production company co-owned by Discovery, so most of the production team was out of the UK. And like I said, Terrence, while he's not from the UK, that's where he had been working on shows. He texted his dad when he arrived in Montana, but by October 3rd, he had texted him again to say he was leaving the shoot and heading home early, which was odd for someone as passionate about their career as Terrence was. He had also emailed Raw TV to let them know about his intentions to leave the set a few weeks early. Even though he did not offer his dad an explanation for wanting to return home, he told Raw in his email that he needed to head back to Maryland to see his mother, Valerie, because she was dealing with some health issues, and they agreed that his last day could be October 10th. However, Valerie explained that she had already told Terrence that she was not as ill as they had originally suspected, and his parents speculate that this may have been an excuse for Terrence to just get off of the set.
Listen.
Which is a red flag for them because he loves his job.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I would say, like, if it's like a day, it's like, yeah, people make up shit to get off work. But yeah, like wanting to leave many weeks early is
Right.
maybe bigger.
On October 6th, Terrence Sr. got a call from one of the crew members on the shoot. They explained to him that they had arrived in Idaho on October 4th. They went out to dinner, they got settled in for the night, and then on October 5th, Terrence Sr. was told that his son had actually had an anxiety attack before even getting to set and had to be detained by his coworkers.
Oh my.
Yeah, this really set off red flags because Terrence had never suffered from anxiety of any kind, let
Mm.
alone panic attacks.
Yikes.
They said that when he finally calmed down, they were able to get him to the shoot and everything seemed okay, but he quickly started acting strange. They told Terrence Sr. that Terrence Jr. had attempted to grab a drone out of the sky with his bare hands.
That is strange.
hmm And then allegedly, he took his belt off and in his radio, dropped all of his equipment to the ground, yelled that he had to use the bathroom, and then sprinted down a cliff near Elk City, Idaho.
Okay.
The crew member on the phone call said that he had never seen anyone run that fast in his life.
Well, I mean, good for Terrence for being
He
so
said
speedy.
he said they attempted to follow Terrence but were unable to catch up with him, and that was the last anyone had seen him. They were calling to let Terrence Sr. know that his son was missing. Crazy.
Did they call the next day? Or they called
Um,
like right away?
no, it was the next day. So he ran down the cliff on the 5th. They called his dad the morning of the 6th. Um, Terrence Sr. got on the first plane he could and was in Idaho by October 9th. He went to the sheriff's department and reported Terrence Jr. missing. On October 11th, the Idaho County Sheriff's Department made a Facebook post which read, quote, on October 5th, 2018 at 6:41 p.m., the Idaho County Sheriff's Office was notified of a missing person. 27-year-old Terrence Woods of Maryland had become separated from his party, a film crew from London doing a documentary on the Penman mines. Due to the late hour of the report, searching did not commence until Saturday, October 6th. 2 Bear Air was contacted and they were out of service for maintenance and unable to fly. 3 dog teams from Clearwater County, ground searchers both on foot and ATVs, Personnel from the U.S. Forest Service arrived on Saturday and began searching with Deputy Stan Denham. Clearwater County Back County Rescue Helicopter also did an aerial search of the area. Fish and Game canvassed the area and stayed later into the night, checking with hunters and continuing to search. Mr. Woods was not located. On Sunday, Deputy Denham, ground searchers, U.S. Forest Service, and Fish and Game personnel, and the dog teams resumed searching. Backcountry Rescue Helicopter also resumed searching using FLIR to attempt to locate Mr. Woods. Rain hampered tracking efforts. On Monday, in addition to the searchers previously listed, a UHI helicopter from Fairchild Air Force Base responded to do more aerial searches. Searches continued on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with the same search teams and air support. Weather did play a factor, and helicopters were unable to fly on Tuesday. They resumed air searches on Wednesday as the weather permitted flying. The decision to cut back the active search was made Thursday afternoon. No leads were obtained from the previous 7 days of searching, and no signs of Mr. Woods have been located in the search area or the expanded search area. The Idaho County Sheriff's Office will continue to monitor the area and investigate leads. If anyone has any information regarding Mr. Woods' disappearance, please contact the Idaho County Sheriff's Office at 208-983-1100. Please be mindful of comments on this post. Mr. Woods' family is devastated by the disappearance of Terrence, and inconsiderate comments will be deleted. End quote. Good for you on that last part, but
Yeah. Also, like, should not be necessary.
right. When Terrence's fellow crew members were reached out to about his disappearance, a spokesperson from Raw TV wrote a statement that read, quote, Terrence was a popular figure at Raw. He was well liked and a valued member of the production team, and his disappearance greatly affected us all. We have the deepest sympathy for Terrence's family and friends. It is truly heartbreaking that he has not been found, and we continue to hope he will be, end quote. The crew members had given the sheriff's department the same explanation of the day Terrence went missing as they had given to his father. They explained that they were wrapping up for the day, and Terrence was talking with one of the women that did transports on set. They saw him wander away from her, and then he suddenly took off running down the cliff. They said they followed him as far as they could, but when they lost sight of him, they tried to track his footsteps. They followed his prints to the end of the road, but were unable to track him any further. They didn't see any more prints to the left or to the right and began to wonder if Terrence had possibly gotten into a car or had run into the densely wooded area nearby. The sheriff's department began to search the area with dogs, helicopters, and search teams, but found no trace of Terrence. They searched for almost a week before calling it off when no leads came up. What was more discouraging was all of the possibilities based on the area where Terrence had disappeared. There were rivers, mountains, and cliffs, bears, cougars, like what seemed like endless possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Investigators also tracked Terrence's credit cards but found no activity on them since he had disappeared.
Mm.
Sheriff Giddings, who actually retired in 2020, he was the sheriff at the time, did not see any reason to suspect foul play when he was working on the case. However, sorry.
I feel like there's always a reason
This man disappeared into thin air.
when they're like still gone. Like
Right.
maybe we just consider it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Terrence's family had some suspicions. Terrence Sr. actually started to wonder if his son ever made it to Idaho.
Whoa.
He explains that the only phone calls he received from Terrence came while he was in Montana, and that he only heard about the arrival in Idaho from a text message and the crew member that called him. He
Mm.
also pointed out that in all of the crew pictures posted on Facebook from Montana, Terrence is not in any of them.
From
And this was like,
Montana?
yeah. Well, yeah, I meant to say from Idaho. Um, At this, Raw TV made another statement saying, quote, "There is a wealth of documented evidence as well as numerous witnesses, not only from the production crew, but also local drivers, hotel staff, and other independent witnesses who met and worked with Terrence and who can vouch for him being on location. He also texted and communicated with his father and mother, stating where he was." The sheriff's department claimed that the probability of him not being here is really not very likely, based on the accounts of the fellow crew members, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
Terrence's disappearance was grossly underreported until the summer of 2020, when the Black Lives Matter movement really started getting the attention it deserved. In the 2 years since Terrence had disappeared, reports really only covered his disappearance itself and ended with the knowledge that searches were called off after 7 days. In 2020, however, more news outlets began wanting to shed light on missing people of color and their stories. I'm not going to get into a rant about how that's tokenism to dig up 2-year-old stories just because it's a black person, but
Yeah, and it's like
also great.
frustrating. Like, yes, people are found, so like 2 years is like that's like fine, I guess. But it's
Yeah,
like for many, if not most of these cases, like it's too
right,
little, too late.
right,
Like you needed to care then.
right. In 2018.
Yeah.
Because of this new attention on Terrence's case, more information came to light about possible mistreatment on the set of the show or a lack of full disclosure about what had happened. Terrence Caesar, Terrence Sr. and Valerie have trouble believing the two primary witnesses, which is the transport girl
Mhm.
and the guy who called them. To start, they think it's unlikely that Terrence could have run as quickly as they say down a cliff
They're like, he was really not that speedy.
without tripping up or falling. Like, think of a cliff.
Mhm.
I saw something that said it's it's physically not possible to run down a cliff. I think cliff may be a generous description of what he was on.
Mhm.
Maybe more like a hill or a mound.
Mhm.
Maybe not straight up and down cliff.
Yeah.
But they were like, he really ran that fast and he didn't drop anything, he didn't trip. There was no blood, clothing, or any other trace of Terrence in the area.
And like the mention isn't like he was doing superhuman
Right.
things. They're just like,
Yeah.
he was running really fast down a cliff.
It was crazy. He had to pee.
Just really
Um,
bad.
Investigators admit that this seems unlikely,
Mhm.
but they say the witnesses themselves say that they ran just as quickly as they could behind him and they were also unharmed.
But they were
Which,
not as quick as him.
when we're saying we don't believe their story,
Mhm.
is really unhelpful.
Mhm.
Then, when Terrence Sr. and Valerie requested to meet with the crew, Raw TV refused to give them the names of anyone Terrence worked with on the set other than associate producer Simon Gee. When they arrived in Idaho to begin searching for their son, everyone except for Gee had been dismissed and sent home, and they were told that they would only be permitted to speak to Gee. According to Terrence's parents, Gee was cold to them and told them that Terrence Jr. was a disappointment and did not live up to the show or the
Raw
network's
TV.
did not live up to Raw TV's expectations. In
Whoa.
fact, I know. They say,
What a strange thing to let come out of your mouth.
why do you say that out loud? They say that he told them that he was not the one who had hired Terrence to begin with. He said, I didn't want him anyway. Um, but that when he spoke to him on the phone, he felt like he would be a good fit for the job. But they say that he said to them, as soon as he saw him, all of his expectations went out the door, and Terrence did not stand up to his recommendations.
That's an inside thought, my friend.
hmm Gee denies this and claims that what he actually said was that Terrence appeared distracted often and struggled with some tasks, but that he was offered support by other crew members and was able to improve his performance over time. He said perhaps this information, coupled with two already highly upset parents, caused them to perceive him as cold. I think that you maybe said those things. Um, Terrence Sr. believes that his son saw or heard something that he either didn't agree with or wasn't supposed to know about. And when he tried to leave because of it, some sort of foul play occurred, and the other crew members are now working to cover it up.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Could be true.
You never know. Terrence's coworkers described him as having a difficult time emotionally, having mental breakdowns, and generally being a little bit weird. His parents argue, though, that he had never suffered from mental or physical health problems and never had any trouble communicating with others. Plus, they say if these claims are true, why did no one seek professional medical care for him or contact his family when they first became concerned about his behavior?
Also, what's the
If
crime in
he's
being weird?
if he's having constant mental breakdowns,
Yeah, yeah,
why is no one doing anything about it?
yeah.
A friend of Terrence's agreed with his parents and she's also a former coworker. Agreed with his parents saying, quote, "It doesn't make sense when I hear people say that he struggled with his mental health or that he didn't live up to expectations. I spent 6 months on a TV production course with him and he always exceeded expectations and never ever showed signs of having any mental health problems." End quote. After he went missing, Valerie reached out to Sam Maynard, Raw TV's EVP of US Factual Programming, to tell him the family was looking into hiring a private detective and to ask if Raw TV would be willing to financially support this. Maynard declined to
Hmm.
help pay for a private investigator, claiming that police would be the best avenue for finding Terrence and writing, quote, "Assistant Sheriff Gorgeous, perhaps? Uh,
Gorgeous.
Gorgie was clear to us that they remain the best avenue of investigation to try to find him. We are genuinely mystified as to why Terrence chose to run off. We would like to reassure you that our people on the ground were highly experienced, professional, and supportive of Terrence and worked around the clock to try and help in the search and rescue operation." End quote.
He ran off because he had to pee.
We genuinely don't understand
What is
why
so
he even did this.
mystifying?
Why would he do this? Another person familiar with the case emailed Raw TV's CEO Jolie Feather, writing, quote, "To show that Black lives do matter, the company could do something to help by donating to a fund to help find Woods." End quote. Feather's response was that Raw had put a great deal of effort and resource into finding Terrence, and that she understood how upsetting the situation was, but that she would not be donating to a fund.
No, thank you.
Yeah. What do you think of all of Raw TV's statements at this point?
Mm, I think they're exactly what I would expect.
Yeah, par for the course, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, not
Uh,
not like the coworker statements, but like the official
yeah,
statements. Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, they're not fucking paying for a PI.
No. Um, Especially because I personally have never heard of Raw TV.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they can afford a
That
PI.
is not in the budget.
Raw TV has responded to all of the family's speculations and claims by saying that they fully supported Terrence's family from start to finish during the search and rescue efforts and that they have every sympathy for his parents. They also defended their employees, pointing out that police investigations produced no wrongdoing on the part of the movie company and no evidence of any sort of mistreatment or foul play. However, the sheriff's department did acknowledge evidence of a rift between Terrence and the rest of the crew.
Mm.
Sheriff Giddings pointed out that they clearly viewed Terrence as different and found his behavior odd, that they weren't happy with him, and that he was becoming unhappy working with them as well. In fact, a crew member who worked on Gold Rush before Terrence did say that the sorry said that the established members of the crew were very close and did not easily welcome newcomers. According to this source, the core team had very similar ideals and senses of humor, and they referred to them as the type of people who say things like, it's political correctness gone mad,
Mm.
which is never really a good sign for someone like Terrence, who is not only new to the crew, but is part of a minority group.
Mhm. That's like a thing. That's like a thing that like people say. That's like a
Oh, they're
phrase.
those kind of people. Maybe in England.
I'm like, it's not.
It's political correctness gone mad.
That was
Yeah,
good.
it
Thank
wasn't.
you.
It was very Moira Rose.
I thought it was great.
Oh, thank you. Um, Terrence was the only black man in the production crew or cast of the show, and he was the youngest employee there in an environment that previous employees described as toxic and uncomfortable. In the UK specifically, but I'm sure in several places, television is regarded as a mostly white field.
Yeah.
A black director who was interviewed in discussion about Terrence's case claimed that he had never experienced the abject racism that he did working in television and film.
Mm.
This director actually described an environment that, in my opinion, closely matched the one described by Terrence's parents.
Mhm.
He said, quote, a producer told the entire crew that I was inexperienced, that they weren't to listen to anything I told them, and that they had to check everything with him. I'm the only black man on set. 99.9% of people on my sets have never worked with a black director before. End quote.
Mm.
He says that by this experience, he was completely humiliated, but this seemed to be a completely normal experience. Sounds a lot like them saying Terrence was not living up to his expectations.
Mhm.
Um, Terrence himself was a part of an organization called PACT, which was a television diversity initiative.
Mm.
Good.
Is
In
that
the
in the
time,
UK?
I'm assuming so. Um, in the time since Terrence's disappearance, other Raw TV employees have come forward to say that they left the company after hearing people laugh and joke about Terrence's disappearance,
Oof.
and hearing people hint at footage taken on set that day as potentially holding answers to where he went. They say
Ooh.
they've heard people say, like, laughing and joking and saying, like, "Oh, should we release the footage? They really want to know."
That's true.
Yeah, well,
How has no one said like were y'all rolling?
they said, like, they were like, "We have definitive proof that he was on that set." Okay,
Can I
show
have
us.
it?
Why? Like this? You're literally a film crew.
May I has?
Some people wonder if Terrence's disappearance could be connected to the disappearance of Connie Johnson. Connie went missing on the same day as Terrence, about 50 miles away from a hunting camp in the Fog Mountain area of Idaho County. Connie was an experienced hiker and a former park ranger for the United States Forest Service in Idaho, where she would often give tours and teach visitors about the nature in Idaho. In the fall of 2018, Connie was working for Ritchie Outfitters and was tasked with taking a group of hunters to the Idaho backcountry. The group left for their hunting trip on October 2nd and told Connie they would come back to camp on October 5th. On October 3rd, the group attempted to contact Connie via radio, but the connection was staticky and garbled, and they were unable to understand her. They returned to October 5th as predicted, but neither Connie nor her dog Ace were there. They waited for her before going out and searching the area. Ace was eventually found, but Connie has not been seen since.
Was Ace alive?
I think so.
No.
They said they found the dog. Um, I they say that, like, there's really nothing to, like, prove that they're connected other than the fact that they happened nearby and on the same day and they're both still missing.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know about that,
Yeah.
but um frustrated with the progress in the case, Terrence Sr. returned home to Maryland to await news of from the sheriff's department of where his son was. He has reached out to them several times, but has not received a response from the
What the
sheriff's
heck?
department or Raw TV's London office.
Awesome.
And
Great. Thank you.
Valerie and Terrence Sr. did end up hiring 2 private investigators, but they were not able to find any new evidence, and they have not heard from Raw TV since 2018. Raw TV says, "We didn't know they were trying to contact us."
They must have the wrong number.
Valerie says that they are just completely unhelpful.
Yeah.
Terrence Sr. has stated that he has left his son's room completely untouched, down to a penny he had dropped on the floor before he left. He
Sweet.
is unable to change it in the event that his son is returned home safely so that it will be ready for him. When asked about his feelings on his son's missing person case, Terrence Sr. said, quote, "It eats me up every day. All you can do is pray and have faith. I just sit in his room and sit on his bed and talk to him out loud. It's almost like a cancer. It's killing me from inside out, but you have to deal with it. My son's bedroom was the same way it was the day I took him to the airport. Me and my son have the same name, so I can't escape it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's nights where I try to go to sleep and I can't sleep. It's nights that I'm afraid to go to sleep so I don't hear him. I don't see him. With death, you have 2 things: closure and healing. I have nothing. He just wanted to be who he is, and he just wanted people to accept him for who he is. And I say who he is because he is still here. Don't take life for granted. It could be pulled right out from under your feet." End quote.
So sad.
I know. Terrence's case is still open and active, though, according to Sheriff Giddings, is, quote, "more of a runaway case than a missing person because he's still missing as far as we know, but we are not actively searching for him."
Awesome.
Because that's something you should say out loud.
Someone like physically running away, but then like going missing from where they ran to is no longer a runaway.
Right.
But nice try.
He said that it's just because the case is really weird and unexplainable. That's why we would like you to find out what happened.
Mm-hmm. Try some explaining.
Terrence's family and friends point out that he was future oriented. In the days before his disappearance, he said that he was hoping to see his mom because he had been worried about her. He was excited to attend a close friend's wedding that was coming up soon, and as a junior member of the film crew, he was telling other people how excited he was to learn more and potentially work with Raw TV and Discovery on future projects. He had a lot going for him and he was excited for it. Terrence Woods Jr. is 5'9" tall. At the time he disappeared, he weighed 130 pounds. He had black shaved hair and brown eyes, and he would be 32 years old today. He has an oval tattoo inside his left wrist and was last seen wearing a light brown sweatshirt and black cargo pants. If you have any information about Terrence's disappearance, please contact the Idaho County Sheriff's Office at 208-983-1100. And we are also going to post the link to a GoFundMe that wasn't made by Terrence's family, but is promoted by Terrence's family. In the show notes, it is to raise funds to hire a lawyer and a new private investigator to look back into Terrence's case.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, I know I didn't have very many questions throughout because I think I was
Yes.
waiting for I was like, there's gotta be more.
Yeah.
So like obviously there's just like not a lot of evidence. So Dad is saying that the text, so like Terrence didn't call to say I'm leaving early.
Yeah,
He
Terrence had
texted and
called
said
him.
my last day will be the October 10th.
Yes, so he called him when he got to Montana. He called him while he was in Montana, and then he texted and said like, "Hey, we made it to Idaho." And then he texted and said I'm leaving early.
Okay.
He didn't say why.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like I get.
And that text was on October 3rd, and
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure that's the last he had heard from him.
Okay.
And then he was told he was missing on the 6th, so he didn't hear from him the 4th or the 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate the theory that he never made it to Idaho cuz I don't know. But I feel like it could be. I don't know, cuz I was going to say maybe it could be that he found something out.
Mhm.
But that's kind of based on that text being him
Mhm.
and being like, dude, I don't want to fucking be here anymore. Like, I found out some shady shit.
Yeah.
Um, and if the text isn't him, then I'm like, did they just hate crime kill him?
I will say, actually, though, now that I'm thinking about this, he texted his dad that he was leaving early on the 3rd, and they got to Idaho on the 4th.
Oh.
So he had already said he was leaving early while they were in Montana. He said that, and then
He sent a follow-up text and said we made it to Idaho.
I honestly, Terrence Sr. didn't say that. He said that texted him that he was coming home early, and then 3 days later he gets this call that he's missing from Idaho.
From Idaho, yeah.
And that they had gone out and it was fine, but then all this weird stuff started happening. But the show says that Terrence had texted his dad after getting to Idaho and said we made it.
Okay.
But do we trust them?
Why do they know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Unless they did and he just they know because it's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe he didn't make it to Montana and they had already, or make it to Idaho and they had already done something to him, but they were like, we won't mention it till we're in Idaho because then we're
Right.
far enough. They're not gonna look in Montana
Right.
for any evidence or anything. We're away from it. Or wherever it happened. Yeah, it's was there a conflict? Because they all think he's so weird, or did they all start saying he was so weird because they had hurt him and they needed to justify why he would run away or why he would have these problems?
I wonder if something happened accidentally, even on set that day, and they're like, okay, he ran off for some reason, is what we're gonna say. And
But you don't think there would be any evidence of that in the area?
I don't know. I guess there would be, but I also wonder because they said that they got the his the crew called and reported him missing to police at 6:41
p.m.
p.m. in October.
October
Are you
5th. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but in October, are you out filming a documentary on mining at almost 7 p.m. in
Yeah,
October? I
but
feel like it's gonna be dark.
maybe they waited to report him for a while. They were like, maybe
Maybe,
he
yeah.
found his way back. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
know.
Maybe
And then they didn't call dad until
the 6th.
the 6th. That's so weird to me. You
Hmm.
can call the police, but you didn't call.
Right.
And I don't know if this is possible or how this works, but I just wonder, could Terrence Sr. have filed a missing persons report in Montana and said
Hmm.
this is the last place I knew my son was.
Yeah.
Can you start looking for him? This is what he was wearing. This is where their film sites were.
And I think that that's so fair because they called off, only searched the immediate area and they called it off after 7 days. And the sheriff's department admits that they have not actively searched for him since then.
Mm-hmm.
They never searched anywhere else in Idaho. They never searched in Montana. They
Mm-hmm.
did nothing else to try to find him
Mm-hmm. And
after these 7 days where they couldn't find beyond his footsteps.
yeah, and I've never heard of a case entirely based on witness testimony.
Yeah. And
they're
in one area. They're like, we're
yeah.
only gonna search in this place where they were filming.
Yeah. It's
And if
like
we don't find anything, oh well.
we don't have cell phone pings that he was in that area. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have texts that he was in that area, calls, pictures, video. We don't have proof that those are his footprints, that could be anyone's footprints. We don't have
Yeah.
his DNA in that area. Like, we don't have any of that even in the state of Idaho. But, like, yep, we're going to trust you that he ran off and his
Right.
footsteps end right there. And, like, so it's a runaway.
Yeah.
Very
And I
weird.
can,
Like, I don't know what I think happened, but, like, clear negligence on the police.
yeah. And I do think that the him not being in any photos is interesting
Mm-hmm.
because it was like such a small crew. And I feel like how weird is that to
Mm-hmm.
call everyone over
Mm-hmm.
to take a picture.
I was
And
gonna say,
I don't know if he's the one holding the camera.
right, I was gonna say maybe he's the one holding the camera in one of them, but surely y'all like alternate that, right?
Right. And then you're like, no, we're good. We don't want one with you in it.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. I will say, I know I said it was grossly underreported, but I would argue that it's still
Mm-hmm.
pretty underreported and definitely underinvestigated.
Yeah.
But
And like I understand that like you are really limited on like what you can do with like really no evidence.
right.
But like isn't the fact that there is literally no evidence like alarming? Like
Right.
obviously maybe they know more than we do, but like is there even evidence that he's staying in like whatever hotel or whatever they're
Right.
in? Like have we found his stuff? Like
Right.
I'm
They're
so
saying like
confused.
all these people, like hotel employees, taxi drivers, all these people say they've seen him. Great. Give us more information. Give us their interviews where they talk about where they saw him or
Mm-hmm.
how they saw him. You're telling me that in a documentary where
Mm-hmm.
you're filming the people filming,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a single shot of him that you can just release for us to say, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, he was in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Strange.
hmm So the general, I guess, most popular belief is that there was some sort of tension with Terrence, whether it's because mostly believed because he was the only black person on set, but whether it's that or just that they thought he was weird or that he was new and they didn't want to get to know him, that the rest of the crew did something to him and that's why he's never been found. And then they just kind of got lucky that the police didn't care to investigate it.
Yeah. Or they're from the UK and so they're like the US is fucking massive and people just go between states all the time. There's no way they'll know if we did something in one state and then we go to another.
And it worked.
And it worked.
I saw there's a guy on TikTok. He is like British, but he like his TikToks were like talking about how much he wanted to go to America and how fascinated he was by America, and now he does live in America, and so now it's about like him learning things. And he was like people make fun of Americans because
Yeah,
they're not well
I've
traveled.
seen that.
And he's like that he
Don't
was
have
like they
passports or
yeah, he was like they can't be well traveled. Do you know how long it would take you to get from one end of America to the other? He's like, it takes me 45 minutes to get to a different country
yeah.
back home.
He was like
I was like, I always
they
think that's
are well
crazy.
traveled, but
Yeah,
in their own country.
right. Like I've always thought that it's crazy, like the other way around. Like that I'm like, you can get to like France
Mm-hmm.
that quickly? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. You
Yeah,
could do it like a day trip.
I would love to know like the percentage of people in Europe who do not have passports.
Right.
Like,
I also I just can't I can't imagine if I lived in Europe, I would be going to a different country every fucking weekend.
mm-hmm.
That would be all I did.
See, but you say that, but you don't
Amazing.
go to different states every weekend.
Because they're so far away. If it's really 45 minutes.
You could get to Arkansas every weekend.
What do I want to see in Arkansas? They have good rocks.
I was gonna say the Little Rock.
Haha.
Haha.
I walked in the living room the other day, and our dad was watching Sunday Morning, as he does.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about these like they're like geodes kind of, but like
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what they were called, but they're like little like there is Easter, and so they were talking about like these rock eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
they look like eggs, and then they also look like rocks, and you crack them open, and there's like crystals inside. And I like walked in, and I was like, "Oh, are they in Arkansas?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh,
My bad. Oh, that's wild, Mary.
mm-hmm." I saw this case on TikTok. Is in the same TikTok that I learned about the Oakville Blobs and Russell and Shirley Dermond.
Mm.
Um, it was like a list of things that I never stopped thinking about. That was like it was like I genuinely don't understand what could have possibly happened. And like I don't know, this case, it just reminds me so much of like Daniel Robinson and Bryce Pisa, and like but like I've never heard of this.
But it's like, at least in this one, there are like people of interest,
Yeah.
somewhat. But then
To
it's
the
also like,
public.
there's no
Yeah.
evidence, like
The
nothing
public is
physical.
interested.
Yeah.
The police are not, but
Mm-mm.
whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.